But I'm trying to figure out how could I implement this. Like working until noon, like full on straight, like a whole day by noon or 1 o'clock. Like I worked an entire day's worth of work by 1 p.m.
So
I'm trying to, that is my immediate goal. How do I implement that with a whole bunch of people? Like there's 6 people in this office.
I think first it starts with you, right? Because ultimately, I think what happens is, even with this podcast, it's a system, right? So watching the podcast for myself was like, wow, I would love to do that. I would love to have 1,000 days in a year. So, Poptastic Nation, we want to welcome everybody to the Poptastic Podcast. We're so happy to be here tonight. So grateful and thankful. There's nothing better than being able to enjoy a nice glass of spirit and a beautiful cigar. We are here to talk to you all. Today is a beautiful day. It's always a beautiful day. It's a little chilly outside, but hey,
it is.
I've seen a couple trees. They're starting to get buds on them, which means spring, it's on its way. So I'm extremely excited for that. I'm extremely excited for this podcast. We're here.
Yeah, so this podcast, so episode 3 of this here Poptastic podcast, we talked about my 60-year goal.
Yes.
And that I have this goal that's like 60 years. And, well, I saw this video today from a guy named Ed Mylett. And I'm like, Chris, you need to watch this. And let's talk about that today on the Poptastic podcast.
Okay, so I did watch that video. I didn't only watch it once, but I watched it twice. That's how powerful it was. I think it was like a 22-minute, 23-minute podcast. What's cool is when you watch podcasts and you see certain things and people give you different philosophies, it's pretty cool because naturally you want to start implementing some of those things, you know. Because number one, you want to make sure that A, is it accurate? Will it work for me? I think when you get information and it excites you, rather, you want to know if it works. So I would say I watched that podcast twice today, and immediately, I'm talking about immediate response, I wanted to start implementing this stuff into my life.
Yes.
Like today, like starting tomorrow. So what I realized about that podcast, you know, he said a lot, and we'll go into depth about that, but I'm going to talk to Mike because we've seen it and we'll explain it to you all.
Yeah, so I actually saw it this morning, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to implement this. And then I sent it to Chris, and then before we were coming here at 7:30, I'm like, Chris, let's talk about this video before we get here. Yeah. So here we are. We're like, we haven't talked to each other about it, so we figured we'll do it here with you guys.
With you all.
So I guess there was a lot in this video. We'll put a link to it in the show notes.
Okay.
But there's a lot to this video.
It was 23 minutes. Well, 20 so minutes.
And coming off of I have this 60-year goal, and I can't waste any time and all that kind of stuff. And you've heard me talk about, like, I work 12 hours a day on average, sometimes 18, which is rare, but normally 10 to 12 to 14 hours, so 12 is my average. And so basically, one of the things that Ed says is so if you were going to get up and run a marathon,
man, this come on.
If you're gonna get up and run a marathon,
let's give it to him. Let's give it to him, Mike.
You are going to get up, and you are going to conserve your energy, and you're going to jog at a nice pace. You're not going to like sprint out, because you can't sprint for 26 miles of a marathon, right? And then he talks about the so the goal is far off. You've got a long time to get there. You got to take your time. You got to keep your pace. The goal is 26 miles or 26.2 miles, I guess it is.
Right.
And then he's like talking about the 100-yard dash.
Right.
Got to make sure it doesn't go out.
I'm gonna let him puff a little bit, so I'll kind of fill in because I watched the video too.
Yeah.
So basically, he was summing it up. Ed was summing it up in his podcast, saying that when it's a 26-mile marathon, because it's so far off, you don't give your all and give it, everything that you got because it's so far off. So you're trying to keep things to yourself. You're trying to keep things in reserve, But if it was a 100-yard dash, if you were racing 100, if your life was based on a 100-yard dash and your goal was 100 yards away from you, you wouldn't hold anything back. You'll give it 110%. You'll go full force. It wouldn't be anything, okay, I'm going to keep my pace. You're going to sprint to that finish line because you can see it.
Exactly. I see it. It's there.
It's right there. I got to get to it, right?
Yeah.
So basically he was saying what happens in life, a lot of people have these goals, right? Or they're looking at things from a standpoint of being so far out to where you can. What if you shorten that goal and make it closer? Mm-hmm. So you can get to it faster. To where basically he was utilizing it and talking about time.
Yeah.
Saying that, if you really look at this time, you can get to that goal quicker than what you really think you can if you look at it from a right angle, right? Mm-hmm. So just think about your goals in life. If there are certain things you want to do, instead of you looking at it from a 60-year standpoint, and you're looking at it from a 2-month standpoint, but if you're doing these 100-yard dashes, you're going to go faster towards that goal and accomplish it. Yeah. And if you continue to keep having these races, you'll get to that big goal quicker than you ever would. Yeah. Because you're giving it 110%, and you're doing a full-blown sprint to that goal. So and mind you, we're going to still pick up, there's more to it, but that right there, starting off, spoke volumes, because a lot of times, a lot of people do set off far goals and they think that they have a lot of time. And I mean, we will break down time because he did some crazy stuff with time.
Well, and then I heard like a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, I heard somebody say, I don't know what I was listening to. It just, this one thing stuck out. And the guy's like, oh, well, you want to be at this level in your business in 10 years. He's like, why can't you just do it in 2?
Right.
And it's like, It kind of goes to when we were talking about books in episode 1, and like the book on my list was the 10X rule. Like the bottom one, after you get the mindset and you get all that stuff, the 10X rule is like, oh, I have a $100,000 goal. I want to get $100,000 by the end of the year. Well, why not 10X that to $1 million? If you miss the $1 million, then you might make $500,000 instead of $100,000.
Right.
But yeah, doing it with time is, the way he breaks it down is
insane.
It's pretty amazing. It's
the link to that video will be in the links below.
Yeah.
Make sure you check out this video. We will most definitely have that link to that video. I mean, mind you, I watched it twice. I know that I'm going to watch it another 3
I'm going to listen to it when we leave here, because I mean, I need to implement this in my life.
So when Mike came in, so as he said, we're sitting face to face now. This is our first time. He sent me the link. He said, hey, I want us to discuss this later. So this is raw. This is
absolutely.
We did not talk about this or anything. We got the cameras going. So you getting raw material right here. And the plus side about having this conversation about, the podcast that we watch is amazing, because it was on point. Like I told Mike, I was like, man, dude, like this so crazy to where I had my team they're going to be my accountability partners. You know, I asked all of my staff, you know, I asked that was working with me now, I said, hey, who gets up the earliest?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I get up at 5. I'm like, 5? I'm like, well, from now on, when you get up at 5, please call me. You know, call me, wake me up. They're like, you want me to wake you up? I'm like, yeah, just call me. Like, why? I'm like, because, I heard something amazing. If I can knock out a 24-hour day in a 6-hour window.
Yeah.
Everybody else is functioning on 24 hours, right?
So this is one of the things that...
This is one of the things that
Ed
you'll
Mylett
see.
talks about.
And I was like, oh my God, like, man, if I can knock out... But then it made me think about time. And I mean, he started talking about time, respecting your time and how you can control it. And you know what? Something that's been very powerful, what he said is, now mind you, I don't get up late, you know. My wife, the alarm goes off at 5:30. And this has been the routine. And I'll be honest, the routine has been, especially for this school year. Now, last school year, I had to take the kids to school. This school year, school starts a little faster, earlier. So my wife gets up early, so it kind of works for her to where, okay, I'm getting up early. You don't have to get up as early to take the kids to school because, hey, they got to be at school way before I go to work, you know, so I'll take them to school.
Yeah.
So I guess, quote unquote, I can get to sleep in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is my sleep is already disturbed, you know, when my wife gets up. But what happens is maybe about 20 to 15 minutes once they're done and they're out the door, I'm up. Mm-hmm. One thing that he said, and he was talking about this right here.
Yes.
This right here. Cell phone, technology, social media, right? He said, don't touch this for the first 30 minutes when you wake up. Now, I'm going to be totally honest with you, Mike, everybody that's watching. We're going to say I get up at 6:50. I'm not going to say get up, but I'm up. I'm awake. I'm still laying in the bed. Everybody does it, right? You get in the bed. First thing I do is come to this.
This is my alarm. I have an app on here called Sleep Cycle.
Yeah.
It like tracks my sleep and all that stuff, and I have to turn it off, right? And then I turn it off, and I'm just like, oh, what's going on?
Yep, that's the first thing. I'm Facebook. I'm looking at my emails. I'm recapping from the day before.
Ash all over me.
Hey, it's all right. You knock it off. Dust the shoulders off. Hey, right? So I come right to my phone, and I'm either on Facebook, checking emails. But that's like my first 30 minutes. And then, mind you, now what's funny about this video that you sent today is today I didn't touch this.
Interesting.
I did not touch my phone. I was like, because I'm wasting 30 minutes. That's how I looked at it. I'm like, man, every morning I get up, I'm sitting here, you know, I mean, it's always cool to look at something funny, to laugh, and it's like, all right, cool.
But me, like, I manage like 60 Facebook pages and stuff like that, so it's like, if I see something that's in there, now I'm like literally working right there, first thing. But today was different for me too.
Really?
I woke up and I started going to the gym right over here.
Nice.
Vita Yoga and Fitness.
Okay.
So Monday was my first day, and then I had issues.
Have you been enjoying it so far?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
But I would rather go at 7 a.m.
What time did you go today? What time did you normally go?
6:15.
6:15. So you like 7?
So I set with Sleep Cycle, I'm like, I need to wake up at 5:15. And so what it does is it tracks your sleep, and if you're in a deep sleep, it won't wake you up. Mm-hmm. But when you start to come out of the deep sleep, then it will set an alarm sometime within a half hour of when you're going to wake up.
All right, so let's go to time. So
well, hold on. I got up. I didn't have enough time to like use the phone, mess around. I got up. I went to the gym. I worked out. I went back home, had a smoothie, took a shower, got ready. By 8:30, I had like done a whole bunch of stuff. You know what I mean? It's like normally I would be getting out of the gym at 8, go back home, shower, and roll into the office sometime around 9, depending on if I have a call or a meeting.
So which schedule works better, the 6:15 going to the gym or the 7? You said that you liked the 7 better, but
I liked just because I work late.
Okay.
But I actually liked how I was able to get up, get ready, get to the gym, get out, get home, get ready, get showered, have my protein shake, get to the office.
And still have time.
And, you know, I guess it was just a different energy that I had.
Okay.
And then it was like, bam, I mean, like I was on point today. I guess, you know, working out, you kind of
feel
get
good.
oxygen in your brain and all that kind of stuff. But man, it was a good day, and I think it was because I woke up early. I mean,
Okay.
I'm gonna chalk it to that.
So this podcast today, we want to talk about. So this podcast is about time management.
Yeah, because that's pretty much what his podcast was all
time
about.
management, how you look at time, and then we can go into depth. You know, we can really dive deeper into, you know, some of the things that he talked about. But like we said, we're gonna put the video, the link, you know, below.
You
So
definitely have to watch it.
you have to watch it.
Definitely.
But one thing he said about the first 30 minutes, that first 30 minutes belongs to you.
Yeah.
Mandatory.
Don't let this control your first 30 minutes, because when you do, it controls your whole day.
Yes. So the first 30
And
minutes.
I'm a technology guy.
See, I
I got
watched
these
it.
headphones on
And,
all the time.
and I just told everybody, the world, that hey, what I do in my first 30 minutes, you know, usually when I get up, you know, today I didn't do that, and it was kind of cool watching that video. It was like, wow, I did feel better. I felt more productive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I felt that I had more control of my time. Because what happens is, I think, and he even spoke on it, what happens is when you get caught up on technology runs your life more than you do, rather.
Yep.
And that speaks volume, because, you know, I started thinking, even today, man, when Mike sent me the link earlier, and I was so busy today. Like, you know, I mean, ripping and running. And what's crazy is because it was almost like confirmation watching the podcast today. Because the way I was, and I kind of, mind you, I mean, everything happens to a reason, right? That I do believe that. But when my day today was like, man, I'm not in control of my time. I'm ripping and running. I'm doing this. I'm here. I'm there. And I'm like, wow, man, like I don't even have control. I'm just going. And going. So when I watched the podcast, it was like, whoa, how could I have done things better to have total control over my time?
Yeah.
Total control. Like, and it made me think like, man, you've been living your life and you've been going thus far. Now, mind you, I look at the progress that I've made. But then listening to the podcast and looking at it and watching it, I was like, man, I can have so much more control of my time if I implement some of these things in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's something powerful when you do have podcasts. It's just like us, we're sharing it with you. We're telling you to check out the video. We're kind of explaining, hey, the first 30 minutes, allow that first 30 minutes to be yours, whether you meditate, whether you do yoga, whether it's prayer, whatever you do. Yeah. Allow that first 30 minutes of your day to be to you.
To be you.
Nothing else. Don't get caught up in the world. Don't get caught up in the news. Because sometimes you lose track of time. You start reading articles, you start watching certain things, and then you're going, and now you're trying to do this catch up. Allow it to be about what you want to do, whatever it is that you love to do, whether it's going to the gym in the morning. Allow that first 30 minutes to be to you. If you want to just sit there and look at the ceiling, by all means, cool. Yeah. If you really choose to, I guess, go on your phone, and that's what you truly want to do, then allow that to be your 30 minutes. But I think ultimately that 30 minutes, it should be a 30-minute window, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there is, now he doesn't talk about this in his podcast, but there's proof and scientific studies and all that stuff that talks about your screen and what it does to your brain waves and all that stuff. Yes. Now, a lot of times when you first wake up, your brain is in this certain state. And
I heard about that.
And like that's the best time to like journal. It's the best time to like write your goal for the day. Or
but that's
like
even
that.
Before you going to sleep, because mind you, this has happened to me before, right? You're at home, you're unwind, right? You're in the bed, you kind of in that state that hey, I'm almost about to go to sleep, and you get an email, you get a message, whatever it is, and you can't resist, and you click that button.
I purposefully do not.
You don't?
I purposefully do not look at my phone.
I try not to. Sometimes, but you know, I mean, there's been times I was happy that I looked at my phone. There's been times it was like, why?
Like I won't, if I've taken care of everything, you know, if I've taken care of everything and the businesses and all that stuff, and I see that I have another email, because I just see that I have the notification. I don't actually look to see what the email is. I won't open it. I won't open the email. I just won't. Because then it might turn into me thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then I'm not going to sleep. And then I'm not going to sleep.
I'm guilty.
And so now, how am I going to implement this?
Yes.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Because I work in an office, and I'm the marketing guy for 12 businesses in that office, plus clients. Well, I guess I should say 9 businesses, but 12 brands, plus clients, and then plus my own stuff. And being in an open office, people are like, I'm sitting there, they've got a question about marketing, they've got a question about IT. Today, the internet kept bouncing back and forth, and I'm like, I'm the guy that knows internet and IT stuff, so then I have to fix that, right? So I wasn't very productive today, but I'm trying to figure out how could I implement this, like working until noon, like full on straight, like a whole day by noon or 1 o'clock. Like I worked an entire day's worth of work by 1 p.m.
So
I'm trying to, that is my immediate goal. How do I implement that with a whole bunch of people? Like there's 6 people in this office.
I think first it starts with you, right? Because ultimately, I think what happens is, even with this podcast, it's a system, right? So watching the podcast for myself was like, wow, I would love to do that. I would love to have 1,000 days in a year.
Yeah.
Right? I would love to have that.
Hey, how's it going? You know, so I'm actually sitting here editing the video, and it kind of abruptly kind of ended. And the reason why it did that was, you know, Chris and I, we had just figured out, we had just learned this thing. And so this camera will actually record for about 20 minutes to maybe 25 minutes, 26 minutes, and then it'll shut off. And basically it's a thing with all DSLRs. It'll just do that because they're not actually video cameras, they're actually cameras. And anyway, whatever. So when the camera shut off, we kind of looked at each other and we're like, you know, I don't think we should talk about this. We should talk about this after we've tried to implement this into our lives. So we've been doing that, and we're going to tell you about that on another podcast. But this one, please take a look at Ed Mylett. Please take a look at what he said and watch that a few times. I've watched it a few times. It's an amazing concept, and he kind of briefly goes over it, but it's so impactful that just that little 20-minute video that he made, and you know, he only talked about this part of it for a part in that video. It's so impactful that Chris and I were like, man, if we could do that, we can get so much more done. So then my 60-year goal turns into a 20-year goal, right? That 5-year goal turns into a 1-year goal. That 1-year goal turns into like a few months. You know what I mean? It's amazing. Please watch the link down below to Ed Mylett's video. And you know what? We'll see you next time on the Poptastic podcast. In the meantime, have a Poptastic day.